In Ielts listening section 1, the conversation may be between two friends. In this case, the speakers may use fillers, phrasal verbs, and colloquial expressions. They may leave sentences unfinished or interrupt one another. If the conversation is between two people who don't know one another well, for example, a conversation between a shopkeeper and a customer, the language is likely to be more formal, with phrases typical of this type of interaction. Something like, "What I was hoping is that you could give me some sort of a refund." As I explained in the previous lectures, the first 3 sections of Ielts listening include 2 parts each. At the start of each section, there is an instruction which sets the scene for the conversation or monologue. At the start of section 1, you have 30 seconds to read through the first part of section 1, which comprises of 4 to 6 questions, out of the total 10 of course, and get ready before the recording starts. Between the part 1 and 2 in section 1, there is another 30 seconds given to you to read through the questions in the second part, and at the end of part 1, there will be extra 30 seconds to check your work and review the answers. So, altogether, you have 1.5 minutes for preparation. This is great. We call these golden minutes, as they help us a lot in finding the answers when we are listening to a recording. Section 1 starts with an example. This is the icebreaker of the listening test, to calm down the candidates and orientate them into the test. When the example is being played, please don't read the questions. It is a mistake. Example is not part of our golden minutes. If you start reading the questions during the example time, you may miss the start of the real recording. So, take my words and don't risk it. I know a number of candidates who have done it in their Ielts and regretted it big times. After the example ends, your first golden minute starts. You will be given 30 seconds to read the first question set, which varies between 4 to 6 questions. We have different strategies for different question types, which I will explain in details a bit later. But for now, let me introduce the second general technique to you. Never ever read the second set of questions during the golden minute allocated to the first part, even if you have enough time. The reason is that human brain has got a limited capacity to keep things in its short-term memory. By reading more questions, you only confuse yourself, because what you read last is what you remember the best. Ironically, what you really need to remember first is the first set of questions, not the second set. In actual fact, you don't need any of the information you obtain from the second set before you get to the second set. And the second set would start almost 4 minutes later. By that time, though, you won't remember any of the information, because your brain already obtained new information and had forgotten the old. This is the nature of the brain. You can't bypass it. You can't change it. So, let's summarize the time management strategy for section 1 of the Ielts listening. When the example is being played, don't read the questions and only listen to the example, concentrate on it, and get the most out of it. In the first part of the golden minute, the first 30 seconds, read the first set of questions and apply appropriate technique, which you will learn later. In the second part of the golden minute, the second 30 seconds between the part 1 of the questions and part 2 of the questions, read the second set of questions and apply appropriate techniques. At the end of part 1, you have 30 extra seconds to check your work. You may have missed 1 or 2 questions, or are not sure about a few answers and just have written some words that you thought might be the answer. Spend this extra time to review those questions and make your final decision about what the answer is. Never ever leave it to the end of the test, because at the end of the section your memory is still fresh and your chance of choosing the right answer is significantly higher. Make up your mind, pick the best word, check the grammar, spelling, formation and meaning, and make sure it makes sense, and move on.